All right, guys, this is the Cold Steel Counter Tac one. This is a knife that I wanted to get to try out for a long time and then just never either had the money, and when I did have the money, just didn't think about it. So this came into me from Winston Cobretti. It was a gift to the channel, and I'm really pleased that he sent it because I love a good boot knife. So let's go ahead and we're gonna get into this in just a second. Okay, so what is a boot knife? Well, there's a lot of different things that can fall into the category of boot knife. The most iconic version is what you're looking at here. The double-edged dagger style with the double finger guards with the a wasped waist handle with the big palm swell that goes all the way around. This is the most typical and iconic version of this knife you're going to see. However, there are drop point, single edge, saber grind boot knives out there. So a boot knife just typically is personified by this style of handle and guard, and then with whatever blade. But this is the one you're going to find the most. Now, there's a lot of history behind this because they're called gambler's knives, boot knives, gambler's dagger, what else were they? Armpit dagger, things like that. So there's a lot of different ways these were carried, but typically these were in the boot. Now, these became popular in the United States around the 1850s into the early 1900s, like the typical Wild West days. And it's surprising that people think that the Wild West was such a long period of time. The actual Wild West, where you would see things like this, would be in the movies, is a relatively short historical period. So these came about like around the 1850s, but this style knife is based on, from historical accounts, because it's kind of cloudy, with the United States being a melting pot, these were based on a Scottish knife that typically would be carried in the boot. And I'm going to put a picture of it up over here. So those Scottish knives were typically carried under the armpit, and they were popular between about the end of the 1600s into the 1700s. Scotland was a really very at-war country with England for a lot of years. So there's a lot of history behind these knives, and it was something that they could carry in their boot or in their armpit and conceal a weapon. Now, theirs were smaller, and they were usually made from pieces of broken swords, because if you know the history, the Brits made them break all their swords, and they weren't allowed to have any weapons. So they were just shards of sword that were turned into a knife. This is a purpose-built, full-tang boot knife. And the whole purpose of this knife, as you can see it, the way it's designed, the way it's built, the way it's in hand, this was meant to be a predominant stabbing weapon. So this is one of the first true tactical knives out there. This was designed for people to have as a self-defense tool back in the days of lots of violence. So Cold Steel has done a really good job here capturing the essence of a boot knife, but bring it into a modern realm. So you've got their typical, every time, guys, hang on a second, my doorbell's ringing.
Guys, I hate to interrupt the video because I know we're having fun, but I do have to do the YouTuber thing and remind you that this channel is self-sponsored with all the affiliate links and stuff you see down below. Anything from knives, tools, EDC gear, and Blade HQ, anything, all the Amazon links, they all support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything at checkout. So I'll talk about that at the end of the video. Now let's go back to the knives.
My neighbor comes over pretty much twice a week. They have tomato plants, and they bring us over tomatoes that they're not going to be able to get to. I just don't have the heart to tell her that I can't eat tomatoes anymore after I had the perforated intestine because of the seeds. I mean, I can, but I'd have to pull the seeds out. So at any rate, what was I saying? Oh yeah, Cold Steel did a really good job here of taking a traditional boot dagger and bring it into the modern realm. Now what they've done here is this is a very chisel ground blade with a hollowed out area here. So it's going to be easy to maintain, but this is not a real acute cutting edge. I could sharpen this up. As you see, I've touched up a little bit because there is an issue with this. So pretty much this is a tactical stabbing knife. It's not meant for a lot of cutting. Now, can you cut with this? Yeah, you can, even though it's pretty chisel ground. it will cut pretty well, even though it's pretty thick. The reason I had to touch it up and keep having to touch it up, and I think I'm going to give up. It's a losing battle. These are done in a SecureX sheath. This is the one big thing I have problem with Cold Steel's fixed blades. SecureX is a fiberglass reinforced nylon that they use, and it is incredibly resilient. However, fiberglass, glass, any form of glass, be it fiberglass or, you know, float glass on tin, is much harder than any steel you're going to come across. And when you rub a knife across a glass plate or a ceramic plate or fiberglass that's inside nylon, you lose your edge. So this did come really sharp, and it's still relatively sharp. It came pretty sharp, but after a couple times in and out of the sheath where it rubs and touches the mouth of this sheath, it has lost a good bit of its edge. That's why I'm a bigger fan. If you can do plastic, do Kydex. This is in AUS 8 steel with a very good double grind. This is one of the best grinds that I've seen on a cold steel in a long time. Incredibly robust piercing point there because it is chiseled, but then it comes down really acute. You would be able to get this through just about anything. And then a really, really good stone wash on that. You can still see the grind lines, which I'm cool with. I am really cool with the, you know, the way this was done. Into their Zytel rubber handles, and they have got a lanyard hole. Now, on a fixed blade, lanyard holes are not such a big deal, in my opinion. As a matter of fact, something like this, if you were going to use this if you were going to take this into as a combat tool, I would say have a lanyard on it because it could get slick. Now, these rubber handles that are on all of these cold steel knives are great. They are not slippery at all. My hands are really sweaty. It is currently 87 degrees out here in the studio with all these lights on, and my hands are pretty sweaty, and that is a very stable, very robust grip. That wasp waist handle, that hourglass handle like that, some people call it an hourglass. I like to call it a wasp waist. It looks kind of like a scorpion. Super good in any direction. So you've got really good grip in any direction. And with it being that rubber, it's not at all slippery. I don't have any feeling like I'm going to slip up and over those guards if I'm holding it like this and I decide I'm going to pierce. However, most people are probably going to use it like this as a nice pick. You know what I mean? You got a nice fuller down the middle. Now, some people call these a blood groove and they're like, oh, that reduces the suction and the vacuum when you pull when you pull it out of material. Untrue. Japanese swords had them, and Japanese swords were not, that's not the purpose of it. What that does is it gives you a little bit of weight reduction without compromising the strength of the blade. So if you see a Japanese sword that has a fuller, also known as in Japanese swords, a bohi, on each side, what that is there's a couple reasons for it. It allows you to reduce the weight of the sword for easier use without reducing the strength, but it also allows for swordsmanship. You can hear which side of the sword the wind is blowing, the air is crossing, and it kind of whistles, and you can see if you are making a clean cut or not. But it's neither here nor there with this. The purpose behind this hollowed out area is so that when you put the edge on this, all you have to do is knock the burr off, and you're not touching the entire thing. You're just touching here. So basically, you could put this on a stone nice and flat and just back and forth once and knock the burr off of that, and you'd have a very, very keen cutting edge. I am going to probably sharpen this up just to do some cut tests with it and things like that. But this is a really good showing. I love Cold Steel's fixed blades. I don't see any grind issues on this one, really. I mean, for a fairly cheap knife, you do have a little bit of a misgrind here where you can see this one was ground further down than the other one. But I mean, really, for what you're going to use this knife for, I don't think that's really an issue. Like I said, the only issue I have with it is the sheath itself. Now, the nice thing about these newer Cold Steel sheaths, if you look, you can pinch these and remove this clip completely, and then just lash this. You can just lash this flat to your gear if you're wearing molly gear. So really, really good options on that. Like I said, great knife. The sheath itself is good. I just wish they would use a different material. Their sheaths have always been well built. I just don't always agree with their choices of material. So guys, that's about all I got. We're going to revisit this. I will play around with this some. I might sharpen it and do some stuff with it. But this was just something cool. Winston heard me talking about this knife in a video that I had never gotten to see one, and it just showed up from I forget which company. It just showed up at in my mailbox. And I looked at the invoice, and it was from Winston. And Winston and I hung out here the other day. He hung out here at the house. We watched UFC fights all day on Saturday. So there you go, guys. The Cold Steel Counter Tac. I hope you enjoyed it. I really like this knife. I have always loved daggers and boot knives and things like that. And like I said, that is just what you picture when you think of a boot knife. So there you go, guys. And I'm sure I put some pictures of some other knives and stuff like that in throughout so you could see some comparisons. So let's go ahead and turn this around, do some final thoughts.
There you go, guys. The Cold Steel Counter Tac 1. This is not a small knife. It does carry pretty light. The only thing I don't like about this knife, the only thing, well, I mean, it's not the only thing. I mentioned a couple things at the table. They use the Secure-X, which is fiberglass reinforced nylon, and the fiberglass just dulls the knife in and out every time. I wish they would get away from it. I told Lynn Thompson at a knife show that they needed to stop using it. So obviously they're not going to. Cold Steel, if you're watching this, stop using Secure-X, stop using the nylon reinforced stuff, or the fiberglass reinforced stuff. It is horrible on knife edges. So there you go, guys. If you like the videos, give them a thumbs up. If you don't like them, give them a thumbs down, but please try to tell me why. I can't change the content if you don't tell me what you don't like. If you want to support the channel, it's as simple as like, share, subscribe, drop a comment, hit the bell icon. If you do hit that bell icon, make sure you've got notifications turned on your device, or you will not get notified of the 3 things that I put up Monday through Friday. If you want to support the channel other ways, I do have a bunch of ways. I mentioned it in the middle, but I have a membership down below that is tier-based. Pick a tier that gets you what you want, but everyone saves $5 off my sharpening service. Everyone has access to my Golden server, and premium tier members have access to a sharpening tutorial series. Baseline and premium tier members get access to giveaways that I do on the Gilded server. The affiliate links that I mentioned, I'm going to be putting up an affiliate link to this in the comments so that you can purchase one if you want. So anything you purchase with the affiliate link supports the channel, but I also have a merchandise store on Ember Shirt Co. where I've set up a coupon code that will save you 10% anywhere on Ember Shirt Co. at checkout, 10%. And that coupon code is CrazySharp, capital C, capital S, CrazySharp, all one word, saves you 10% at checkout. And if you send pictures of you wearing my merchandise to me at my email address, I will put them in a video. Guys, that's it. I love y'all. Keep it clean in the comment section. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. And I will see you in the next video.